Hey, what's up? Hello, my name is Emma. I am currently reading The Box in the Woods by Maureen Johnson, and today I'm going to be giving you some summer book recommendations for the best beach reads. So inspired by summer, I really wanted to film this video outside, even though it is a very cloudy, overcast day. There is not a sun to be seen, which also means that the audio of this video probably won't be as great as my other ones, but we all make sacrifices. These bangs are gonna kill me this whole video, aren't they? Nonetheless, I'm really excited for today's video. I wanted to curate a list that I feel could appeal to many different readers, so I've got some like contemporary romance, some mystery thrillers, and even a couple of fantasy books, so I hope you're excited. But I would like to start off this video giving a big thank you to Disney Book Group, who is sponsoring this video. Disney Book Group has a couple of awesome books out this summer, the first being Curse of the Spectre Queen by Jenny Elder Moak. This seems like an awesome fantasy inspired by Celtic mythology. Our main character's name is Sam, and she works at a bookshop until one day she receives like an old decrepit diary in the mail, and suddenly ruthless men are after her, her friends, and her longtime crush, and they chase them to Ireland. Sam and her friends discover an ancient order that is trying to raise the Spectre Queen, the Celtic goddess of vengeance and death, and so they must complete a complex cipher in order to stop this gigantic war from happening. It's set in the 1920s and appears to have a real Indiana Jones feel between the treasure hunts and adventures and all of the mischief and danger that Sam and her friends are going to get into. So Curse of the Spectre Queen is in stores now if you want to check it out. And if fantasy is not your cup of tea, you might want to check out Like Other Girls by Britta London, and this is a contemporary set at a high school where our main character Mara has been kicked off of the basketball team and is in search of a new sport to play. Mara ends up joining the boys football team, which is not an easy feat for a teenage girl, but she does inspire a couple of other girls to join the team, including her crush, as well as the girl she got into a fight with that caused her to get kicked off the basketball team. This seems like a great contemporary for me. The main character is a lesbian, and I just love reading books about female friendship banding together to fight gender norms in their school. Like Other Girls hit shelves on August 3rd, and if you are here looking for some more beach reads, these are two I definitely think you should keep an eye out for. So let's dive into my list of the best 2021 beach reads. Now, how could I start out this video with anything other than Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid? This novel is set in 1983 and follows a group of siblings who are all like surfers, supermodels, and photographers that come from a very famous father. And every year they host a party that is like the talk of the town in Malibu. So the book is set over a 24-hour period of what happens leading up to and at this legendary party that leaves Malibu up in flames by morning. Each of the siblings are going through something different and keeping secrets from one another. For example, Nina has recently been left very publicly by her husband, Jay is hiding a medical condition from his family, Judd is hiding a relationship from his family, and Kit just is trying to figure herself out. And the book also pays a lot of attention to the Riva siblings' parents and like their love story and what transposed of them over the years. Malibu Rising is definitely one of my favorite books I've read this year. I read it in like 3 days, which is really quick for me with grad school right now, and I literally have not stopped thinking about this book since I read it. I think about it every single day, and it is the true inspiration to me going to Malibu with my friends this summer, which I'm so excited for. We're gonna go to Point Doom where Malibu Rising takes place, so you know that there's just going to be a ton of Malibu Rising inspired photo shoots to come. It sometimes perplexes me why I like Malibu Rising so much, because it's definitely not like the best book I've ever read. The pacing was wonky in some parts, and I wish that it had expanded on some things and pulled back on others. And also, I do not think it's like as good as Daisy Jones and the Six or The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, because those are two of my favorite books of all time. But like Malibu Rising, for some reason, just cannot get out of my head. I'm so stuck with it, and it is like probably the most perfect beach read I think you could pick out of everything in this video. Next up, we have a book that I feel everyone is reading this summer, and that is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. Our main characters are named Poppy and Alex, and for many years of their friendship, they have gone on like a summer vacation trip together. So even if they didn't live near each other or they weren't really talking, they like always had their summer trips. Until a couple of years ago when something went wrong on the trip and they really haven't had contact since. But Poppy is working as like a travel writer, and she's in a real rut, so she decides that she wants to go on one last trip with Alex and try to repair their friendship. This book is also one that flashes back to some of those previous vacations, so we really get a sense of Poppy and Alex's friendship. And then we have the present, where these two people are much more like strangers and really have to get used to being around one another again. I have not read Beach Read by Emily Henry, which I feel is another one that would probably fit in on this list, but I really enjoyed People We Meet on Vacation. I picked it up on a whim, and it was definitely a fun and entertaining story. I wouldn't say I was like so connected to Alex and Poppy. I liked Poppy a little bit more because Alex is just like a little rough around the edges, and he's supposed to be, but I do feel like they were both really well-rounded characters and grounded in reality, which made them very relatable. I think this is a great summer read because you have a lot of different vacations and traveling, just like exploring the world, getting to meet new people, and forming connections with old friends. Maybe not the most memorable book I've ever read, but definitely like the perfect vibes that you want when you are just like laying outside tanning and just want to voraciously read through a new story. The next book on my list of summer beach reads is Dial A For Aunties by Jessie Q. Sutano. Our main character's name is Medi, and she comes from a Chinese-Indonesian immigrant family where she works as a photographer in her family's wedding planning business alongside her mother and aunties. So the story starts when Medi is on a blind date that is not going well, which is kind of an understatement because by the end of the date, her date has died. Maybe it's more accurate to say that she accidentally killed him, but anyways, Medi brings back the body to have her mom and aunties help her figure out what to do, and they're like, we'll leave it until tomorrow. We have this massive billionaire wedding that we have to focus on first, and then we'll take care of the body. But of course, there would be no story if the body was not shipped to the wedding venue. And of course, what would a story be if Medi's long-lost college love who broke her heart does not come back at the wedding? Kind of similar to People We Meet on Vacation, Dial A For Aunties did not wow me, did not touch my heart, but it was fun and entertaining, and that's clearly the kind of vibe I'm going for here. It may just be because I have been rewatching Jane the Virgin, but this book gives me like serious Jane the Virgin vibes. It's like at this gorgeous hotel, and there's dead bodies and love and heartbreak, and everything that could go wrong goes wrong. And amidst all of the chaos and murder and heartbreak, I really love the strong family ties that this story highlights. Like, there is something very, very unique about the experiences of immigrant families and their connections, and I just felt that Jessie Q. Sutanto did a really good job of that, considering that it was heavily inspired by a lot of her family. I do feel like I maybe had to suspend my disbelief a little bit more than I like to when reading fiction, but nonetheless, it was funny, it made me smile, and I'm actually having my mom read it right now, and she's really enjoying it too. So I know you all love when I give you the Mama Books Recs as well, and this one so far has been endorsed by her too. Now that we did the adult books, I have a couple of YA contemporary romances that I really want to recommend. The first being How to Make a Wish by Ashley Herring Blake. Our main character is named Grace, and she has big dreams of being a musician one day, but it has only ever been her and her alcoholic mother as they have moved from place to place in with all of her mother's different boyfriends. At the beginning of the story, they're living in what feels like a cute little quaint beach town, and Grace meets a girl named Eva who really transforms her perspective on life and makes her want more than she has ever wanted for herself. But the question really is if Grace's relationship with Eva is enough for her to break her chains and live her life the way she wants, or if she is just too concerned and loyal to her mother that she can't leave her side. Now, to be candid, How to Make a Wish is a book I was paid to review many years ago, but it is one that has stuck with me for so long, and I really love it and want more people to read it as well. This book is very important to me because Grace is bisexual, and reading her story of her coming to terms with her identity and being comfortable with herself liking girls was something that was very important to a closeted me. Grace is a really compelling main character that I feel a lot of people can relate to, and I also love the relationship that Grace has with her best friend. I just love seeing a platonic relationship between people of different genders because there's just not enough of that represented in media. But How to Make a Wish definitely stands out from the other books that I've mentioned for being like so fluffy and fun and entertaining, because How to Make a Wish gets very very like deep, dark, and emotional. I was not ready for the things that happened in this book, but it's really powerful. Many of you know that the like hard-hitting emotional contemporaries are often my favorites, and that's why I love How to Make a Wish so much. I just feel that it does so much justice to exploring the relationship between a child and a parent who has substance use. It's a hella underrated book. I also love Ashley Herring Blake's other book, Girl Made of Stars, I think it is. She's just a fantastic writer, and I'd love to read more from her in the future. And if you haven't read How to Make a Wish yet, it is definitely your summer to do so. Oh no, it's starting to rain. This is not the summer beach reads video I was expecting. Next up, I have Love Boat Taipei by Abigail Hing Wen. Our main character's name is Ever, and she comes from Taiwanese immigrant parents who have sent her off to this like elaborate summer program in Taiwan. Ever is not looking forward to this trip because her parents have expressed it as like this educational program she has to attend, but when she arrives in Taipei, she realizes that the people there are much more concerned with relationships and hookups and going out in Taipei, and it is the break from real life that she has really been searching for. Love Boat Taipei really surprised me. I went into this just expecting it to be like another summery, fun, fluffy contemporary, and it had a lot more substance than I initially realized. Love Boat Taipei felt like a more mature YA book, kind of intended for older teens. It's a really strong coming of age story about a girl who has never been able to step outside of her parents' expectations or really discover who she is and what she wants in life, and Ever now gets the opportunity to at like this summer of a lifetime. This book came off very tropey in the beginning, and I didn't think I was gonna like it all that much, but I feel like it subverted a lot of those tropes and surprised me in many ways. And like, I read a lot of YA, it's sometimes very hard to surprise me. I really loved Ever as a main character. Her story is just like so empowering, and it makes me want to encourage everyone to like go off to a different country and explore themselves. And I also really liked a lot of side characters in this book. That's something that like I can usually like pass over, is not that important, but I love when we have strong side characters. And again, this is another one that although Ever is away from her family, there's like a lot of importance about that relationship she has with her parents who are immigrants and how that influences their relationship. It was just, this is like a really good book, and I feel like not enough people have read it. So if you're looking for a YA that might subvert some of your expectations but still give you like all the fluffy good feelings and a nice coming of age story, it's one I definitely recommend. And last on the YA contemporary list, this one is technically not set in summer like most of these, but it's spring break, and there's some travel, so I feel like it still fits. And that is With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. I freaking love Elizabeth Acevedo so much, and I just get so excited every time I get to talk about her books. So our main character is named Imani. Imani lives with her grandmother and actually got pregnant during her freshman year of high school, so we are now following her in her senior year after she has had some experience of what it's like to be a teen mom. Now, Imani is not only defined by her young daughter, she is also an amazing cook. She has spent her entire life loving being in the kitchen, but it was always just a hobby for her until she started taking a culinary arts class in school. So while Imani is juggling her responsibilities as a student with being a mom, she decides to break away and do something very unexpected for herself, and that is to go on a school trip to Spain where she gets to work in a kitchen for real. With the Fire on High is such an enchanting story that fills me with so much joy. I could spend an entire video talking about how beautiful Elizabeth Acevedo's writing is, and although her other two books have been published in verse, With the Fire on High is just like your regular run-of-the-mill novel with like incredible, beautiful descriptive writing. Imani is a total firecracker. She has such a strong personality with a very practical mind, and this book is really about challenging her to step out of all of the things that she thought that she couldn't have in life and being able to really dream for the first time. I absolutely love Elizabeth Acevedo's works. I think that Clap When You Land would also be a fantastic beach read, but I feel like I just haven't mentioned With the Fire on High in a while, so I wanted to introduce it to some of you who maybe haven't heard of it or haven't picked it up yet, because I just love it so much and I would love to see more people reading it. Alrighty, well, shout out to those of you who have watched the video long enough to witness the angle change. I don't know, comment like giraffe if you watched this far, because I always really appreciate knowing when people watch like most of the video or to the end. So now that we cleared out the contemporaries, I wanted to dive into just 2 simple thrillers and then 2 fantasy books for those of you who are maybe not looking for a contemporary beach read. Now, the first mystery is one that I really wanted to have finished, obviously, to fully recommend to you all, but because of time, I didn't get around to completing it. But it is my current read, The Box in the Woods by Maureen Johnson. Now, you may have heard of the Truly Devious trilogy by Maureen Johnson, which I have been talking about on my channel for years. It is my all-time favorite YA mystery series. And so the trilogy concluded last year, but just this year we had The Box in the Woods come out, which is technically a part of the series, I guess, but it is not related to the Truly Devious mystery. So I kind of consider it more of like a spin-off sequel. So from where I'm at in this book, about 100 or so pages in, it does not seem like you have to read all 3 books in the Truly Devious series in order to read The Box in the Woods. You will get spoiled for like what happened and how the mystery got solved because it is a continuation, but the plot lines themselves are not interlinked. So I think if you maybe wanted to pass on Truly Devious, but you're interested in a summer camp mystery, The Box in the Woods seems perfect for you. The Box in the Woods follows a teenager named Stevie who has just recently solved the most notorious cold case in America, and as she's settling into like what life is like outside of Ellingham Academy, she is given the opportunity to attend a summer camp as a counselor to investigate the murders that happened there many years ago. In 1978, 4 camp counselors were murdered at Camp Wonder Falls, and it became known as the Box in the Woods murders as the killer was never found. And so years later, the camp is reopening under a different name, and Stevie is bringing along a couple of her friends to try and investigate, but within the Truly Devious series, I'm sure that these 2 mysteries are going to intersect and meet Stevie in the present, and it is all up to her and her friends to find out before more people die. Now, keep in mind, I am not finished with this book. I don't know how I'm going to feel by the end of it, but the Truly Devious series is one of the most consistent series I've ever read. Every single book was like equally as good as the other, which I feel is so rare, and I feel like I just have no reason to expect The Box in the Woods to be any less great. I'm super happy that this new installment follows the same format of Truly Devious, which is a dual timeline story following Stevie and her friends in the present and flashing back to 1978, around the time when the murders first happened. And although I'm not that far into it, I already feel like The Box in the Woods is a little bit darker and more edgy than Truly Devious, and I can't tell you what this book contains yet. I know I'm putting it on a recommendations list, but I feel like it's really going to surprise me, and I am just always blown away by the care and consideration that Maureen Johnson has put into all of her mystery books. So I'm just really expecting The Box in the Woods to be great. If you are looking for a summer camp murder mystery that feels very much like 1984 American Horror Story, which is my particular favorite season of this series, I feel like this is going to be a great one, and I can't wait to update you on all of my thoughts when I've finished. And another book that I guess I grouped as a mystery, but it's also kind of a contemporary. It's just like an amalgamation of a couple of genres, I feel. But that is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. This book feels like a time capsule to when I first started BookTube, because I read it the summer of 2014 after I had started my channel with Booksplosion's book club. Now, the one thing that you will always hear about We Were Liars is that no one ever wants to tell you what the book is about. Everyone is just like, go into it and find out what happens, and I just feel like that's too vague. I feel like the most of what I want to tell you is that it follows a family and like a group of friends that all spend the summer on a private island on like the outskirts of Massachusetts, and as you can tell by the title of the book, many of them are liars, and this is a book full of secrets and lies and misdirections. I feel like I did not give you all that much more than nothing, but I feel like that's the most you need. Just like the setting, it's set in summertime, and there is a mystery and suspense here. We Were Liars is a really well-written book. I read this book, oh my god, how many years ago? I think like 7 years ago at this point, and although it's totally not fresh in my mind, this would actually be a fun one to reread because of how short it is. but I definitely remember being absolutely captivated by not only the writing of the story and the characters, but the setting and the plotline and mystery. It's a very enchanting book, one that makes you think, and it's not an easy one to figure out. That is why no one wants to tell you anything about this book, because it is all about experiencing the twists and turns for yourself. It's a really special story, one that I feel is so hard to find other books that complement it or are really similar to it. So if you have not read We Were Liars yet, I feel like 2021 is a summer you should definitely give it a shot. And closing out this video with just a couple of beach read fantasy novels, because not everyone wants to escape into a summer romance. Some people want magic and mythology and war and destruction and heartbreak. Too much? I don't think so. First up, I feel like there is no better summer beach read recommendation for fantasy than the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series by Rick Riordan. I feel like I haven't talked about this book in forever, and just saying the title put a smile on my face. Percy Jackson is another throwback because I feel that most people who have been reading YA fantasy over the last 10 years have probably touched a Rick Riordan book already, but I was someone who was a little late to the Percy Jackson game. Even though I was a big reader when I was younger and a kid, I didn't read the Percy Jackson series until I was like 18. So if you are someone who has also not delved into the world of Rick Riordan mythology, I definitely recommend doing so, because there is a reason that these books are so hyped up and famous. Like, they are so objectively good. So if you are very new here and maybe this is your first time being introduced to the world of YA fantasy and you have not heard of Percy Jackson, it follows a young boy named Percy who finds out that he is half human, half demigod, and he goes away to a summer camp called Camp Half-Blood with other demigods. And so while Percy is coming to terms with this new side of himself and this entirely new world that he never knew existed, he is the prime suspect for stealing Zeus's lightning bolt, and so him and his new friends have to go on a treacherous journey to try and retrieve it and clear Percy's name. The Percy Jackson series is heavily rooted in Greek mythology, and though I am someone who has never really had a major interest in mythology, those aren't the types of fantasies that I reach for or have an interest in at all, I love the synthesis of this mythology with urban fantasy and also Rick Riordan's like amazing comedy writing style. Everything about these books are hilarious, including the chapter titles. Like, the first chapter of The Lightning Thief is I accidentally vaporized my pre-algebra teacher. Rick Riordan is witty, smart, and ridiculously talented. This is a series that I feel transcends age, even though it was meant for younger readers and YA. I feel like you could dive into this book no matter how old you are and find some joy in it. And he also writes such wonderful characters. Like, all of the characters between Percy and Annabeth and Grover, like, these are just people that you really want to be your friends in real life and feel very connected to them through all of the dangerous adventures that they go on. It's such a touching, charming story. I feel like everyone has to at least give Percy Jackson a try once, so if you have not yet, please, please, please do. And closing out my list of summer beach reads for fantasy, we have Daughter of the Burning City by Amanda Foody. Now, this is a book, unlike many of the others, that I don't know for sure if it takes place during summer or has any connection to summer at all. No beaches or anything like that, I don't think, but it just like gives off the vibes. But the reason I think this one stood out to me for this video is because Daughter of the Burning City takes place at a traveling carnival, and like, what says summer more than like summer festivals and carnival rides and games and greasy food? It's like a staple of summer for me. But for all I know, this book could actually take place in winter, and you might just have to find out for yourself. Daughter of the Burning City takes place in a magical world following our main character, Serena, who has the power to create illusions. And illusions are essentially like real people and creatures. They have their own personalities, you can interact with them, they have feelings, but they are not real, and they are basically figments of Serena's imagination that she's created that other people can see and interact with. Serena and her illusions have become like her family in this freak show that they put on at the carnival, but she's always known that they are not real until one day one of them is mysteriously murdered, and she is like, how is that even possible? And so as this mysterious killer is murdering Serena's illusions one by one, she has a lot of things to figure out, like, who is this person killing her family? Why are they killing her family? And like, how are they even killing something that doesn't really exist? You may have heard me talk about Amanda Foodie's other series, Ace of Shades, because I've talked about it a ton on my channel, but Daughter of the Brooding City came first, and I really loved it right from the get-go. I think Amanda Foodie is an incredibly talented fantasy writer. She writes such amazing characters and magic systems, and while I do prefer Ace of Shades, there's something really special to me about Daughter of the Brooding City. The mystery in this book was really, really fun. Although it is fantasy and it has all of these different people with magical powers and whatnot, the mystery of uncovering like who is the murderer and me going through like every character I've read about to try and figure out who it is was a real wild ride. This book feels very colorful and fun, and it's got like a super swoony romance that I loved, but at its heart it is like very dark and sinister, and I really love books that have a juxtaposition like that. It's not a flawless book. I don't think a flawless book exists, and I can definitely tell that my younger self was overlooking some of my criticisms just because I felt so attached to the story and the characters, but I'm someone that is that type of reader where like what really matters to me is my enjoyment and my connection to the story, and Daughter of the Burning City wins major points in that way. So if you're looking for a fantasy with some suspenseful mystery aspects, some really interesting characters and magical powers, I definitely think you should check out Daughter of the Burning City, and I would really love to hear more people talking about this one. So that concludes my list of summer book recommendations to read on the beach this summer. I really hope you enjoyed and got some new recommendations out of it. Thanks again to Disney Book Group for sponsoring this video, and don't forget you can check out Curse of the Spectre Queen now and Like Other Girls in stores on August 3rd. In the comments below, I would love to hear your recommendations for what books I need to read on the beach this summer, because I am definitely on the hunt for some new summery books to dive into. But that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you soon for a new one. Bye!